Hello and welcome to the Even Stevens Ranked podcast, the podcast for all things Even Stevens. I'm Brittany Butler.
I'm Ethan Brem.
And today we are back, finally.
Finally.
We took a little break there.
Jeez, Brittany, why'd you take so long to record?
I was dying. So we're on separate sides of the coast here of the USA, and we both ended up getting sick at the same time around Christmas and New Year's. And then Ethan, your health just spiraled.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So yeah, like I coughed so much that I strained my abdominal, and it still kind of hurts to talk, but I couldn't. I was basically not talking for like 3 weeks. Yeah.
We had no choice. We had to extend that break.
Yeah. So sorry, guys.
It's crazy though. I was like, wow, our last episode was a month and a half ago or something at this point.
We were just increasing the demand, you know?
I know, it's very strange. I do want to point out, I've noticed the streams and downloads for the podcast have been going up while we've been away. A great amount. I mean, we just hit 800 total downloads. I think when we uploaded our last episode, we were at like 600 something. So during the break, we gained like 150 or something like that. I don't know who is listening out there.
That's pretty cool. People are just re-listening maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you're out there listening, of course, like we'll reiterate this all the time, but write into us, tweet, follow on Instagram, send us an email. We will love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So today we are here to talk about Season 1, Episode 7, Foodzilla!
Tokyo is doomed.
Tokyo is doomed. This is a pretty memorable episode.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because they used so many of these clips on commercials. Especially, I shared one of the promos a while back. There's like one promo that they did for the show, like a really early one promoting it. And pretty much every clip they used was from this episode.
Really?
Which is really weird. And I have that promo like memorized. They played it so much. So I think that might contribute to why this one is a little memorable.
I gotta look at it. We have another one-off character.
Yep.
Which is weird. Because we finally gotten past the Erich Van Lowe saga.
Yes, very excited to finally be into episode 7, which was directed by Peter Baldwin and written by Mark Warren, who is someone who's heavily involved in the rest of the series. So
he wrote the movie also.
Oh yeah,
the movie.
So definitely cool to see this is his first appearance.
Yeah.
This episode has a 7.5 on IMDb. I'm so used to saying 7.5 because every episode has a 7.5. This one has a 7.7 on IMDb.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's an 8.7 on TV.com, which we talked about before. That's like basically a good rating because like there's no episode really below an 8.5, I don't think. But it's all relative, right? So within that, this is ranked towards the bottom of the entire series.
Interesting. This is a pretty popular episode, I feel.
Yeah, this was probably, I think, maybe like 15th to the bottom of the whole series, I think.
Yeah.
On TV.com. So that's kind of weird because I enjoyed this episode this time around, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I haven't watched Even Stevens for a month and a half or if it was just because, I don't know, it was just more enjoyable than I remembered. I have this episode ranked at number 32.
Yeah, and I have it at 29.
And
so pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close once again. And something I wanted to do, we had talked about it a little bit before, like after rewatching the episode for the podcast, like trying to guess where we might have ranked it or like where it actually is on our list and then checking the list and seeing how close we actually were to our past selves. I had guessed that I had this at 31.
Oh, wow.
I checked my list and it's 32. So I was like, okay,
Weird.
I guess I'm either in the same headspace or that's just where it belongs to me. I don't know.
I had guessed that this one was going to be in my top 25. I think I put it around like between like 18 to 25. I thought it would be in like the later half of the 25, but it ended up being 29, so it's still pretty close. That was also based off the fact that I always loved this episode, but I think when I was going through and rewatching and ranking it, when you compare it, you notice the like subtle things that maybe will move it a couple spots lower on your list, And
it's that whole thing we talked about before with episodes that are more fresh in your memory or that have aired more frequently. You're more likely to put them a little lower because, but that might be unfair, but it's just because you're way too familiar with it or something.
Yeah, of course. But also it could work in its favor too, because like there's some episodes that I am familiar with, and that might be why I like it so much,
Yeah.
So it could go either way, I think.
No, definitely. So the IMDb synopsis for this episode is Ren is starting a school news station. Wanting his 15 minutes of fame, Lewis contributes an accusing interview of the cafeteria lady whom he nicknames Foodzilla.
Oh man, Lewis is so good in this episode.
No, he is. The only thing I disagreed with that was like, I don't think he wants 15 minutes of fame. He just... Yeah,
that's a weird synopsis. I read that too. I was like, I think he just wants to, try his hand at interviewing and doing something kind of funny.
Yeah, and he says that, he's like, oh, I can make you a comic masterpiece. Like, he just wants to do something creative and be involved with this. Yeah,
he wants to entertain people. Yeah.
That's that was a little bit of a weird synopsis. But yeah, more or less, that's what we're looking at here. General thoughts before we really dive into the plot points.
I noticed some stuff this time around that kind of stood out. I didn't love the dialogue in this episode for some reason. Because it was really funny as far as I think the direction was really good and Lewis is really good. And, all the characters were good, but it's not that I didn't like it. It just was very on the nose. The written jokes were on the nose, I think. I don't know.
That's an interesting thing. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I just said that it's very memorable because I didn't even really have much to say.
Yeah, I didn't either the first time around.
But I basically, for my notes... today, I just said that I really enjoyed it this time around, maybe because I haven't watched Even Stevens in a month and a half. Lewis's interview fiasco was obviously the highlight. I was dying. And it's also nice to see Ren give Lewis a shot at doing this whole thing.
Yeah, I like that dynamics too.
And then I said, other than that, it's just all right.
I felt like the first half of the episode was really, really, really strong. And most of the highlights kind of come from the first half. And then the last half kind of becomes a little formulaic.
Or not just formulaic, just a little bland. I don't know.
Yeah, it's there's a montage towards the end, and I don't know.
So yeah, is that everything you want to say?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to these plot points. So the episode opens with a signature fast motion thing.
The longest one ever.
So long. So it's this crazy fast motion bit outdoors, and it's just zooming through the streets of their neighborhood.
So, yeah, the entire town you pretty much get to see.
And it lands right on Ren and Lewis walking home. And Lewis is pestering Ren, just saying, please, 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 over and over again. And Ren keeps telling him, no, no, no. And obviously that's leaving us wondering, what's going on? What does he want so bad? Basically, just to jump right to it, Lewis wants to host a segment or just be involved in the new news station or, it's the Wombat Report that Ren is starting at school, or in charge of it, rather. Because, she's in charge of everything ever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Vice Principal Ren Stevens, it's starting.
Yeah, I know, it really is starting.
So yeah, he really, really wants to be a part of this whole thing, but Ren just doesn't think that he can take anything seriously enough and just doesn't want him to do it. She just will not let it happen. That's pretty much the first 5 minutes or something is just basically all about that.
We hear of Ren being one of those high achievers in school, but this is the first time I think we see her actually acting upon that and being the head of something.
So right around there, though, when, Lewis is like,
I can make you a comic masterpiece.
See, that's the problem right there. I take this project very seriously, whereas you take nothing seriously.
I said in my review, it's she translated, I can make you a comic masterpiece into, that's not serious. no one wants that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But it's like, hello, like it would have been like clearly if you let him do that, he would have taken the comedy seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
He would have written something smart and like instead of just winging something,
which
or
we see how that goes later on.
Making it a disaster. Yeah, because then he's like forced to take what he has given to him and just exploit it basically.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that always bothered me. You should have given him the opportunity to, come up with something because it would have been funny and serious. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to like explain it. But
like going back to Take My Sister, Ren doesn't have a great connection with what I think the kids, like a realistic junior high student would want. Exactly. Whereas Lewis does. She thinks everyone wants, this integrity-filled news report. People just want it. Like these kids are like, I don't want to watch this, but if it's funny, they want to watch it.
Exactly.
And that's, we'll see the results of that.
Mm-hmm. Because, right here is where we get that line, one of the lines that they played on all the commercials when he takes two big things of broccoli and puts them under either armpit and says,
You think I need to shave my pits?
I rest my case.
Oh, you think I need to shave my pits?
I love how she's like, you can't take anything seriously. And he said, I can be serious. And then immediately jumps into the broccoli under his armpits. Like, the joke was almost that was him being serious. I wrote how he can't resist a joke, even if it's to the detriment of his own reputation, not being able to be serious.
Yep. So there is like a tiny little bit with Donnie right around there, which is kind of cute. Yeah. He's kind of funny there as he's like randomly scraping carrots, like just cleaning vegetables. Like, why is he doing this?
Talking about how many impurities there are in carrots.
Like bug duty.
Yeah.
It's just so weird because he's using the little magnifying glass too, like examining these vegetables. I don't know why this is happening.
It's such a random scene. Like, it doesn't really serve a purpose other than
Lewis taking the broccoli
and him like suggesting to talk to Eileen about the problem. Donnie suggesting to Lewis, or it's just to show Donnie, like an excuse to show Donnie, I guess.
Yeah, but it's great. Yeah, so basically that's that transition. Lewis asks Donnie, Ren won't let me be a part of her news thingy. What do I do? And he's like, there's an adult solution to situations like these. I ask mommy. So Lewis goes out to talk to Eileen. And we see that Eileen is doing Tai Chi outside, which I just think is kind of funny. The music she's always listening to just cracks me up because it's just the most generic, like serene sounding music.
And she hates it.
She hates it. Like no matter what, she just can't find the right music to accompany her Tai Chi. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Lewis goes out there while she's doing that and just kind of mocks the Tai Chi a little bit. You could kick grandma's butt. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. What does he call it? Slow-mo karate?
Whoa! Slow-mo karate. You could probably kick grandma's butt. Whoa, 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 whoa.
I'm mastering Tai Chi.
Yep.
And he pretends to be like Matrix dodging her kicks and stuff.
Lewis and Eileen have a little conversation. I think, is that probably one of the jokes here that was maybe too written where, he's like, oh, Ren doesn't think I take anything seriously. He tries to think of the times he was serious. And he's like, I didn't goof on her when she had that pimple.
Yeah.
I didn't goof on her when she had that pimple on her nose.
You called it a Rice Krispie.
Well, that's because it snapped, crackled, and popped.
Lewis.
That's because it snapped, crackled, and popped. Ba-bam!
Yeah, like that joke, I was like, okay, that's like a little below even Steven's bar,
Yeah, that line always stood out to me where I was like, that feels a little bit too much. Here's a joke.
You can see it on Shia's face that he kind of didn't fully
believe in the line. Yeah. So Eileen basically tells Lewis, okay, like if you want to do this thing with Ren, you have to come up with a professional idea and present it to her and actually, have her believe in you and take you seriously. And right after that, Eileen tells him,
I have an exercise that will help you focus. Do this with me. It's called Golden Chicken Stands on One Leg.
You know what? I'm gonna do the flaky biscuit sits in the lawn chair, Mom.
You know, I'm going to do the flaky biscuit sits in the lawn chair.
That's a good line.
Which is one of my favorite things and is probably connected to something else in this episode.
Yeah, because I feel like he ad-libbed that line a little bit and like subconsciously was thinking about a reference that happens in the next scene.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
That's what I always thought too. But yeah, so it cuts to the next day at school, that wonderfully beautiful lunch that they put on Lewis's plate, and he says, "Look, it's pre-barfed."
Yeah.
Because it literally looks like throw up.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It looks like barf. I really don't know what that could possibly be. It's like, it looks like maybe like peas and carrots and vegetables and crap, but like, what's all the sauce? Like, what is that?
Did you have a cafeteria in school?
Yeah.
In high school, we kind of did, but it was like the food was pretty good and stuff. You went to public school, yeah?
No, I went to Catholic school my whole life.
Okay, me
and
too.
then public high school.
Okay.
But yeah, thinking back to middle school, which was, I went to Catholic school, our lunches were not the best, but we never had anything like that. We never, like, it was, everything was already like pre-made. Like, I think everything was frozen. We had like the square pizza.
Yeah, that was ours too.
We had the really nasty chicken patties with nothing on them, just 2 buns and a slab of chicken. Like,
yeah, in high school that was the same thing. And like, yeah, you know, the burgers were like passable, like you could eat them and stuff. They weren't bad. We didn't have anything like buffet style. We didn't have anything like that.
Yeah,
that was in high school. In junior high, elementary school, I also went to Catholic school. We pretty much just brought our own lunch every day. So I didn't really live the buffet cafeteria life.
No, I don't know many schools that have that. Even my high school, my high school didn't have that. But my high school food, no offense to my high school, it was literally disgusting.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's like the stereotype.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not
cafeteria food.
It was, but I mean, it's never as bad as they depict it on. Like, it's never literally throw up.
It must have been that bad in like the 60s and 70s because all these writers and creators
who are older
in the 90s always
write
talk
that.
About it.
Yeah, no, but the food was just. They would have like pastrami sandwiches or something, and they reeked, and it was just so gross. Oh, the cafeteria always smelled like it was going up in flames. It was so bad. It was nasty. But
that sounds like it.
But yeah, it was not good. Anyway, moving on from that, Lewis is with Twitty and Tawny, and here, fun little Easter egg. Twitty mentions the Alan Twitty project for the very first time. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. Basically kicking off the band arc.
That lasts the whole 3 seasons, pretty much.
Our first mention of it. You know, Lewis is saying he needs a really good thing to write a segment about. And Twitty's like, maybe you could do it on my band, the Alan Twitty project. Tawny's like, you don't have a band? And he's like, I do have a band. And like, there's a problem with every single one of his members and why the band is not happening. Yeah. And that's another thing too, where he says that his lead singer has mono. That's like the one illness they always mention on like every teen show from the 90s and early 2000s, and I don't know anyone that's ever had it.
Oh, I do. I know a couple people in high school had mono.
But like, what is it? Like, I know they call it the kissing disease.
Yeah, so you can get it from your immune system being really low, so people who like don't get a lot of sleep or something like that. I want to say it lasts like a few months.
Oh God.
But like the first couple of weeks, you're like really, really bad. Like it's basically like flu-like symptoms for a couple of weeks, I think.
Oh, wow.
I remember I had a really good friend in high school who had it.
But that's interesting. Why do they call it the kissing disease, though?
Because you can get it from other people, I think. I don't know.
See, that's funny. But I think that's the main reason they mention it all the time, because it's known as the kissing disease. Yeah. So it's like, let's just mention mono on teen shows all the time.
Yeah, Boy Meets World also mentions mono. Corey gets mono.
Boy Meets World action. Very tiny Boy Meets World connection.
We're stretching it a little bit.
We're reaching.
What happened with their lead singer in Battle of the Bands again? I can't remember. Like, why don't they have one? They just don't have one, right?
Yeah, I guess they just don't have one. The lead singer was Twitty, but he sounded terrible. They were just playing around, I guess. Yeah, I guess maybe that his lead singer never recovered. They just never got him back. Yeah, so Lewis is saying, he needs to come up with an idea. And he says, for all I know, like, it's probably right in front of my face. And the lunch lady is right in front of his face, literally. And she just stares him right in the face, which I think that might be another on the nose sort of thing.
Yeah.
It could be right in front of my face. Here's the lunch lady literally staring me down.
Ba-doom-tsh.
I mean, she is in his personal space.
Yeah, she's all up in there.
It's just really weird. And so he gets the idea, like, yeah, let me write this thing on the lunch lady. So it cuts to Ren reading this report that Lewis had written up and gave to her called The Cafeteria Lady, Life Behind the Hairnet, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. With like a random picture of a lunch lady on the cover.
Yeah, it's almost like a clip art of...
Yeah, clip art. That's the word I was looking for.
2000s clip art. He gave this to Ren and she's reading it and she's super shocked. She's super happy. She's like sort of blown away reading this thing. And she's like, yeah, this is pretty good. And that's what I mean, where clearly if Lewis applies himself, it'll turn out all right. Like, he wrote this thing that impressed Ren, like a written thing. He went and wrote it up and Ren is thoroughly impressed. But yeah, so he wrote this thing, Ren's really impressed and agrees to give him a segment. So there's a little bit right after this where Eileen comes into Ren's room and she's looking for, you know, the right sort of relaxing music for her Tai Chi. And she's like, Ren, can I borrow a CD? So she looks through Ren's CD collection and she goes, the Limp Bizkits. Now that sounds relaxing.
It's funny because Limp Bizkit, it's basically what Lewis was alluding to in the scene, a flaky biscuit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Limp Bizkit in a lawn chair. Like, he could have said Limp Bizkit. It's just a weird little connection that I don't know which one inspired the other, I guess.
Right.
I also can't imagine Ren listening to Limp Bizkit.
I know. That was one thing that stood out to me this time.
There's always was like a random...
I think maybe it's just like a teenage thing where it's like, oh, this was a thing at the time, so everyone has the CD.
Well, yeah, and like I remember like there are CDs back then that were like parental advisory, and like there was maybe like a couple kids in your class who were allowed to have it, and you like listened to theirs because you weren't allowed to have it.
Or they like burned it for you or something.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny. Yeah, I definitely think that Shia's line and the Limp Bizkit stuff is connected in some way. It's too much biscuit talk for one episode, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of biscuits.
So then we get a short sort of mirror talk montage thing, kind of. It's not really a mirror talk, but it's Lewis in the mirror practicing different ways how to act on air for the news report. It's pretty funny. I mean, I enjoyed this.
I always like the Ted Koppel sitting in for Ted Koppel's hair.
Yep. And Geraldo. I'm Geraldo Stevens. With a serious report on fake mustaches. It's cute. So then it cuts straight to the premiere of the Wombat Report, which Ren cannot say.
Wombat Report.
Wombat Report, which I am such an uncultured swine because I never knew that this was a reference to Barbara Walters and SNL.
Yeah. Baba Wawa.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I felt so dumb once I realized that, like 2 years ago. I just never got it. I was like, why can't she say it? Why are they having this happen?
It is kind of like a weird tongue twister.
Yeah, Wombat Report. Wombat Report.
Wombat Report. Wombat Report. I know there's like a speech thing where if the first word begins with a W and then the next word begins with an R, it's hard to say, like, or flipped. There's a basketball player named Russell Westbrook, and people always say Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But yeah, eventually, later on in the episode, she just is it in this episode where she's like, the Wombat News.
Yeah.
The Wombat News. She's like, you know what? Just forget it. It's not the Wombat Report anymore. It's the Wombat News. So yeah, it cuts to the Wombat News premiere, and she segues into this sort of like a coming up intro where she's like, today on our show, we will be doing this and that, and and just I love this part.
We'll go to Danica Henderson in the parking lot. Danica?
Thank you, Ren. Ever wonder what happens to the fines you pay on overdue library books? I have a shocking report.
Thank you, Danica. We'll look forward to that.
And they zoom out and show like a red Lambo almost or something in the librarian's parking spot. And I never got that. And then I was like, oh my God. They're trying to say that like the librarian bought a freaking sports car with all of the late fees or whatever.
Because there's so many late fees.
I don't know why. I just laughed so hard at that.
It's so random.
It's just amazing.
I guess I never realized it was a librarian. I guess I always thought, because I didn't, does it say librarian spot?
Mm-hmm. I also love the way it's not parked straight.
Yeah, it's like taking up two spots.
Like it's parked so recklessly.
I just imagine this librarian being like super hardcore.
Yep. But what's funny is that like I picture the stereotypical like old lady librarian just like spending the money of the late fees,
buying a Lamborghini
enough to afford this car. Oh man, I don't know. I just thought that was so funny. With this little Danica segment, which we never get the rest of, which is kind of also hilarious.
Well, what else you need to know?
Exactly.
That's what's great.
They just tease you with this. I have a shocking report. I'm like, I want to hear.
It just implies like the whole story, like already.
But in addition to that, we get Artie Ryan, the sports guy.
Yeah, first appearance.
Just probably the most underrated character.
Yeah.
He's so good. He was on Freaks and Geeks, which is pretty cool. Jerry Messing is the actor.
Jerry Messing, yeah. I actually really want to try to get him on the podcast, like maybe after we've seen like a few Artie episodes.
Well, I think he's only in 4, right? I think.
Yeah, 4, yeah.
4 or 5 or
4
something,
or 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just great. He's not really the way you typically see him in this episode. He's like super excited.
Yeah.
In this episode,
usually he's very nonchalant and dry.
Yeah, he's usually super deadpan, like couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But here he's like super ecstatic, and he's interviewing Twitty, talking about like some basketball game that Twitty had won for Lawrence before. Like he had like the winning basket or something, and Artie's just going insane over reliving this experience.
But first, a report from our sports guy, Artie Ryan.
Oh, yeah, Ellen Tweedy, nice shot! Hey, how you doing? What's up, man? Let's go back to the big game against Red Hill. The team is down by 1. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3, 2, Tweedy stops. He shoots. It's good. Score! Lawrence wins! Lawrence wins! Lawrence wins! Lawrence!
Dude, calm down, all right? You're like gonna pop an eyeball or something. Just deep breaths, okay? In and out.
Oh, man.
And we learned that he plays bass.
Yes, that is an amazing thing here, too. Hinting at the Twitty Stevens connection thing. Twitty puts the message out there that, hey, like my band is looking for a bass player, and Artie says, hey, I play bass, which is pretty awesome because he goes on to be a member of the band.
I think it's interesting, like we're one-off characters. They're only in like 4 or 5 episodes, but fans remember them being in so many more. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird. And Artie's like one of those cases.
They make such an impression.
Yeah, that's how you know they're like a really good character.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's super great. And I also want to mention during this whole scene where they're kind of showing Lewis getting ready for his segment, that little snippet of coming up on Danica's segment, and then this Artie Ryan interview, like they're kind of going back and forth between this stuff. When they cut back to Twitty and Artie's interview, we get like they do this a few times throughout the series. It's like the back end of a line that is just a wild line.
Yeah, and you don't have any other context for it.
It's just out of context, but you don't need context. And this one is Twitty, and he says, let's just say that's the last time I ever played without a cup.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, Disney.
I think that was one of the lines I thought you were going to pick.
Oh, no. But it's crazy as well. Like some of the stuff that they got away with on this show. I'm like, they're random sort of adult jokes that they throw in here. I'm like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so easy to miss, too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They're just they're like one-off throwaway lines, but
they're a throwaway line that is actually good.
Yeah, it paints a picture of what the conversation was about.
Yep.
Without being in it.
It's so good. I love when they do that. It's It's super funny. So right before Lewis's segment, which is iconic and legendary.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Tom, who of course is the camera guy for the Wombat Report, he asks Lewis how his pre-interview went with the lunch lady, and Lewis is all, pre-interview? No. Whatever. And Tom's like, oh, so you're just going to wing it? And he's like, yeah, isn't that how all the greats do it?
Not only does he not do a pre-interview, he doesn't even warn the lunch ladies that they're even getting interviewed.
Oh, no. He just busts into the kitchen.
Yeah.
While they're making the lunches. He just busts in there.
It's so great.
So Ren introduces the segment. Oh, let's go to the cafeteria for our segment with Louis Stevens. And he opens it by saying,
now, we've all been in the cafeteria line, but what do we really know about the people who cook and serve the so-called food we eat?
The so-called food. He's already insulting them before he's even started.
Yeah, the very first line out of his mouth is already great. And he turns around to go into the cafeteria, opens the door slams in the cameraman's face, slams in Tom's face on his way in. He doesn't hold it open for them.
He's yelling at them to move faster.
Guys, come on! What is it?
Oh, man, yeah. So he walks in there, goes over to the lunch lady. Hi, Louis Stevens, Wombat Report. I got a few questions. So, yeah, he just asks her this stuff like, oh, tell me about your day. And I love the way the lunch lady is such a stereotypical foreign person.
Yeah.
The way she talks in such broken English with such a, what kind of accent would you say it is? German?
It's Russian.
Or Russian, maybe. She's just I stirred a pot. Can you tell us what's in the pot? Beans, which is also interesting. Beans.
That's true.
She sort of walks away from the pot, and Lewis is like, Pinto or Navy or whatever.
He's just baiting her into
going crazy.
Irritated.
Yeah. And he tries to sniff the beans, and Ren automatically knows. She's like, Lewis, are you going to do something stupid?
And she knows. Oh, you are?
Yep, she knows it's about to go down in flames. But then it just gets better, honestly.
Yeah.
He goes, to just question her further. And she's like,
what do you want from me? How about the truth?
And he says,
is it true you once ran out of chicken fingers and served human fingers? Why you say such lies?
Why you say such lies? Well, how do you explain this?
It's so good.
And it's just his finger bent down.
Yeah.
He just shows his bent finger to the camera you all chopped off my finger and served it.
At this point, all integrity is lost in this news interview. And she just goes bazonkers. Oh my God.
One thing that I love here too. So when she's like, what do you people want from me? And he's like, how about the truth? And his voice cracks, and it's just great. Yeah. Also the truth about what? He hasn't specified anything yet.
He hasn't. Yeah. All he's asked if it's pinto or navy beans.
And then he just wants the truth. That's all he wants is the truth.
He's just implying that she's covering up all this stuff.
This is hysterical.
It's honestly one of the best scenes in the entire series.
Oh yeah. It's funny. This is one of his better freakouts, I think. Even though it's terrible what's happening to the lunch lady.
Sure,
it's still not as bad as some of his other ones that are more cringeworthy to me because of how he's negatively affecting other people that are closer to
Wild Child.
Yes, that are closer to him than the lunch lady.
Well, in this one, say the lunch lady just freaks out and starts throwing stuff, and then Lewis leaves, and then the rest of the episode goes on in a different direction. Mm-hmm. It would have just been comic, and the lunch lady's just freaking out, and Lewis has just had this funny report that had no integrity, but because of the scenes that happen later, then it kind of puts the perspective a little bit differently on this scene, on the freakout scene.
Yeah, so that's why it's sometimes when you rewatch it, it can be why can't you do anything right ever?
It's great.
But just on its own as a thing, it's so funny.
Yeah.
One small detail here that always made me laugh. He's circling around the lunch lady and going over to her other side, and that guy is bringing over a hot tray of cookies or something, and it hits his arm, and he's like, that is hot, this is hot.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
He's on another level.
He's just insane right now.
The music that's playing in the background while this freakout's happening is great.
Oh yeah, of course. It's the iconic, Dun, 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 dun.
And then the camera guy or someone like falls to the ground, and then Lewis is saying, "I'm gonna get you out. I'm gonna get you out."
yeah. It's literally as if it's a war scene, you know?
Yeah.
Lewis annoys the lunch lady so bad that she just starts like throwing flour at the camera. She's throwing buns at the camera. She's throwing buns at all the news guys. Oh my God.
If this was today, she would have been fired for throwing things at students.
Oh, I know. And this would have gone viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
Crazy school report gone wrong or something.
It would have been so good.
Yeah, it's too funny. And so Lewis is running from the buns that the lunch lady is pelting, and he's like hiding behind the cover of a pot, like he's holding it up like a shield. And then the camera guy falls over and he shouts, "Man down."
Man down. It's so good.
It's amazing. And this music is playing the whole time. Because again, there's a camera filming this whole thing involved here. So that's like, it has a slight mockumentary feel.
Yeah.
Like when all of this is happening and he's like, "Tom, are you getting this?"
It's so good.
It's so good.
I always think about stuff like this because the people who are watching it, the students who are watching it, aren't hearing the music. Mm-hmm. I always would wonder what it would look like without the music, or how much the music heightens the scene.
Right.
It was great. The music was great for it, but I was just something I always think about random.
It just must have been like the craziest awkward thing with no music.
Oh yeah. And Shia was probably ad-libbing a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to get you out. I'm going to get you.
There's no way you can script the stuff that he's saying.
No.
He's so good.
So good.
It's an amazing scene. You guys need to watch it.
It's wonderful. It's uploaded on the Even Stevens ranked YouTube channel. I've isolated the scene. So this segment went down in flames, but I love it so much, and I was dying laughing this time I watched it. And so the entire school is laughing. They're all getting a total kick out of it. But Ren is literally seeing flames in her eyes, which is sort of a surreal thing, superimposing flames into Ren's pupils.
Very effective, though.
Yeah. I usually don't like things like that, but it works here.
It does.
Like, it wasn't like as cheap as the dollar signs in Lewis's eyes in Ren We Trust.
Yeah.
It's just bad. So everyone loved the segment. They thought it was hilarious. But Ren is like pissed off, and she's about to go up to Lewis and like completely, basically tell him, "You're never doing this again. Like, you ruined my life. My career anything is over." But then Danica comes over. She's like, "Yeah, everyone loved the segment. Even Principal Wexler?"
I know. Yeah, I can't even... Well, at this point, we've only seen Wexler once, I think.
Yeah, but it's like...
So we don't really know... Knowing the whole series, it's kind of a weird thing, because Wexler usually doesn't like that stuff.
Well, but it's also funny, though, because I did realize, I noticed, that remember in Scrub Day, he's in favor of Scrub Day.
Yeah, I thought about that, too.
He's in favor of the 8th graders tormenting the 7th graders.
He likes chaos a little bit. I
think
think.
It's just too funny, though, that it's like... if anything, he should have been sympathetic towards another staff member. You know what I mean? And and I don't know.
And also because of knowing his relationship with Lewis throughout the rest of the series, it's kind of weird that
he would be like, "Oh, I loved what he did."
Yeah, everything Lewis does is ridiculous, even if he would normally like it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and of course, I forgot to mention, during the incredible meltdown scene, that is when Lewis screams, "It's Foodzilla!"
Yeah, Tokyo is doomed.
Tokyo is doomed. As she's standing there, towering over them, throwing.
Oh yeah,
things.
And she looks like Godzilla.
Yeah,
like the way the angle. I mean, not physically, but
yeah, the whole angle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's title of the episode right there, and where it came from. Since everyone loved it, Ren just sort of lets everyone else's opinion sway how she feels immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
It's interesting. It's actually kind of a deep concept. She has a lot of integrity, I think, and she wants everything she does to have integrity, and she takes things a little too seriously sometimes. But this was one of those things where she wanted the thing to have integrity, but she sees how shock news is effective. And she's like, oh, maybe it is a good thing. You know what I mean? And so you kind of see that conflict that she's having. Yeah. And how she's so easily swayed.
Yeah, but I just always thought it was funny how, like, immediately, like, that's all she needs to know.
Yeah.
And then she just walks over to Lewis, and she's so happy. She was like, let's talk about your next segment.
She didn't want anything funny, but then now that he did something funny and everyone loved it, now she wants something funny. It's just... I think it's intentional. I don't think it's like
oh yeah, no, but
it's that's one of the things about the episode, kind of more under the surface, that I liked about it.
It's lunchtime. Lewis and Ren go to the cafeteria, and she's telling him, oh, you know, I think you could do a whole series of intimate portraits, which is like, Ren, what he did was not an intimate portrait in any way, shape, or form. But
she's basically asking him to, like, trash all these other, like, blue collar workers for the school and stuff.
No, honestly, and then she genuinely says that, which I actually did like this line a lot, though. Like,
yeah, this is a good one.
I laughed.
This is another one I thought you were gonna pick.
I might have, actually.
What Lewis says in response?
Yeah, so Lewis is like, how about, like, the janitor? She's like, really, Mr. Gordon?
Well, I guess you could trash him. You get it? Trash. He's the custodian.
Ren? I'll do the comedy.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I really laughed this time. So they're at lunch. Lunch lady comes out, getting ready to serve lunch, and this kid that looks exactly like Cleo Thomas, who played Zero in Holes.
Okay, this kid's in a commercial in the 90s. I can't remember.
Really?
There's like a Capri Sun commercial, I want to say.
Yeah, I think you said that before. Yeah. So this kid, who I always thought was Zero from Holes, honestly.
Yeah, he looks like him.
He turns around and starts screaming,
It's Foodzilla!
Foodzilla!
and then the entire cafeteria just points and laughs. Literally old school point and laugh at the lunch. Like, literally, they all just stand up and point at her.
It's like that, like, nightmare you have of everyone laughing at you when you're giving a speech and, like, pointing at you.
The poor lady very dramatically throws the food in the air and runs away.
Yeah.
Just in utter embarrassment. And Lewis and Ren obviously feel terrible, so the remorse starts to seep in. Yeah, so the lunch lady quit her job on the spot because of the embarrassment and everything that happened. So Lewis and Ren tell Eileen all of this when they get home that night. It's also funny because this is when Eileen tells Ren,
Sweetheart, I listened to the Limpy Biscuits. What interesting lyrics. I did it all for the...
Mom?
You'll get this back when you're 30.
Yeah, pretty great.
It's a good line. Every time I think of Limp Bizkit from after I watch this episode, I think the Limpy Biscuits.
Yep. It's like my pet peeve when my Nana calls Fall Out Boy the Fallout Boys.
I think when you turn like 60, you just start putting the in front of things. Like the Google. I'm going to use the Twitter.
Yep. I'm going to use the Facebook, the Twitter.
The Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, and there's also a line here that they used in that same promo where, they're talking about everything that happened, and Ren says,
You are a horrible little person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And so that's that, and Eileen, heard all about it, so she tells them,
You have to go over to Foodzilla's... to the lunch lady's house and apologize.
To your house?
Yes, today.
That's what happens. Lewis and Ren go to her house.
How do they get the address is what I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know that too, because of course they're in the same clothes, like it's the same day. I don't know how they found out so last minute, but I don't know. Maybe they just called the school
or Ren probably has access to everybody's files.
Well, yeah, I mean, Vice Principal Ren Stevens. It's like we said, it's starting. She probably has a copy of all the records, like honestly. Yeah, so they go to her house. It's a creepy house with a flickering lamp outside, and Lewis has a little horrible vision of himself, like as a pig on a spit.
Yeah.
And which is super surreal, and he's like imagining that that's what the lunch lady is going to do to him once they go into the house.
It's interesting, like I wrote this too on my article. You don't really see this side of Lewis a lot, like the remorseful side. Like this may be one of the most remorseful you see him. The only other two I can think of is swap.com or Easy Crier. Like those are the two I can think of.
Oh, no. I could think of a lot of other episodes where he's remorseful, like even more remorseful than this.
But not just, but it's just the way he acts remorseful. Like he played it a different way this time, I think. I don't know. It's just something I notice like every time I watch this episode. Yeah.
But that's why we talk about this stuff. Observations.
Yeah, exactly.
So they go to her house and, Lewis and Ren are terrified. They both share this really tiny chair because they just trying to stick together. And the lunch lady is like, she's like, why you make fun or whatever. And they're like, oh, sometimes when kids don't know someone or whatever, they're either afraid of them or they make fun of them. So the lunch lady, whose name we find out is Elsa Schatz. She says, you want to know me? I show you. So she claps twice. She has a little light clapper system, gets a spotlight on her, and starts yodeling. Also clearly lip syncing yodeling as well.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a guy's voice.
And it's so funny because I always laughed at this because I was like, how is that showing me who you are in any way, shape, or form? But then at the same time, I'm like, I'm a musician, so I know like if I were to show someone a part of me, obviously it would be my music. So I do get it in that way.
Show that you're more than just a lunchroom lady. Like you're also...
You
like
do
a yodeler.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's just kind of fun. Like it's the fact that she's a yodeler that's just kind of funny. That it's Even Stevens. She can't be
so Even Stevens.
Yeah, she can't be anything run of the mill. She has to be a freaking yodeler.
Yeah. Well, if she was, and I think that's the way this show a lot of times like avoids being kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
They made it ridiculous, so it made it funny.
Yeah. Or it's like cool. I love painting or like something.
Yeah. Then you're like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah, but yodeling.
Yeah. And then Lewis and Ren try to do it.
That was really cool.
How do you do that?
It's how do you say? In the throat. You try.
Low, do, low, do. Well, I guess it's harder than it looks.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, so the lunch lady, I laugh too because she says that she came over from Europe to be a professional yodeler in America.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Why would she get up and move countries?
Yeah, you need to do some research.
Yeah, like this is a career choice and like massive move.
You need to do. There's no demand for yodeling in America.
I was like, when have you heard like a top 40 yodeling hit? Like,
Yeah.
Like it's not going to happen here unless you're that Walmart kid that went viral recently. Wasn't that the kid?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The yodeling kid.
Yeah, he was a yodeler.
So that maybe today, 2018, 2019, yodeling lunch lady would go viral. She would have her time in the sun now.
Yodeling's making a comeback.
But yeah, back then trying to find yodeling work in America, not going to happen. So she became a lunch lady in order to sustain her life instead of trying to be a breakout yodeling star, I guess.
Yeah.
That wasn't working. And I said, like, that seems like something that's more popular in Europe, like Germany or Russia, or like wherever she's from. It seems like that's where she'd probably have more luck.
Definitely like Switzerland.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Germany, yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's really weird.
Why, like, Sacramento? Like, at least move to Los Angeles. Like, where there's some sort of entertainment population.
Why am I laughing so hard?
Sacramento's like the driest city.
But again, that's Even Stevens. They live in freaking Sacramento. It's like
it's so random. It's like one of the only shows that takes place in Sacramento.
It's too good. It's too good.
It doesn't even make sense.
Nothing about this makes sense, but that's why it's so great. So she explains all of this to them. She says, now all the kids just make fun of me. And again, I was always confused about how this turned into let's give her a makeover.
Yeah.
But it's...
Like, they're basically saying, well, also you're ugly, so let's give you a makeover. I think I killed Brittany.
I don't know what's wrong with me today. I have tears in my eyes. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't breathe. No, but yeah, I don't.
That's basically what they said.
I never understood how this like.
She never said, "Oh, everyone thinks I'm ugly." They're just like, "Oh, you do yodeling? We're gonna give you a makeover."
That's the thing, though. Like, I never thought that she said that, but then I paid closer attention, and she did. Like, the line she says right before they segue into this is she says, "To them, I'll always be large person with ladle."
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like maybe that gave them the idea to like make her more than just this.
But she's still large. Yeah. Like they don't give her a liposuction. They literally just put like a bandana in her hair and like cut her toenails.
And actually, their goal was for her to still be the lunch lady.
Yeah. Like, she can't wear any of that when she's serving lunch. She still has to wear, like, a hairnet and stuff. She can't just wear, like, this leopard print dress to serve lunch. It doesn't make any sense.
So basically, it segues into them giving Miss Schatz a makeover, and it's a bit of a montage, and there's some surreal stuff in here too, like her toenails are disgusting, and you know, Lewis is it's not getting the job done with just like a nail filer, so he becomes a welder and like pulls out like freaking welding equipment to chip away at her feet.
And they totally took that from Dumb and Dumber. By the way, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Really?
Movie.
Oh no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not too familiar.
When Jim Carrey's character, they're getting like a manicure and pedicure or whatever, and the guy uses like the little, I don't know what that thing's called,
yeah,
buffer or whatever.
Yeah,
on his toenails. It's like the same thing.
Well, there you go. Fun fact. But yeah, so they do all of this, and they're like, oh, here she is, the new and improved Miss Elsa Schatz. And there's like that music.
Catwalk music.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like sexy music, kind of.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, showing off her new look, which is like her hair all styled and nail polish and some makeup. And I always wondered, too, she's wearing like, there's like cheetah print on everything she's wearing.
Yeah.
And I looked closely. I think it's her uniform. I think they like bedazzled her uniform.
Oh, okay.
It's not a dress. It's like it's like that.
It's like a button down.
Yeah, it's like an off-white tan button down short sleeve shirt.
Okay.
But they just added like cheetah print trimming to it and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, but then I was like, where did they have the cheetah print trimming? Like, does she just have that around the house? Like, and they have like a whole like little nice outfit for her too, like cute sandals, little capris. I'm like, did she already have all this stuff? Like. Yeah,
she must have had that stuff.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
She's been hiding this whole time.
It's just one of those like things. It's like sitcom reasons, you know. That's it.
Suddenly, you know, they're all friends now, and oh, come back later, children. I yodel for you.
Come visit me.
Yep. And so they're all good. So it's the next day at school. Lunch lady isn't there yet. Lewis is all, oh, don't worry, she'll be here, and I'm pretty sure you'll like what you see.
And I like, Tweety says Foodzilla. He says something about Foodzilla, and then like Lewis starts to kind of like laugh. He's like, "No, dude, she's really nice." Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you can tell.
Mm-hmm. The experience had a profound effect on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Twitty's like, she better show up soon or I'm going to eat my own foot. And he's like, oh yeah, she'll be here. And lunch lady comes walking out back to us. We don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Turns around, it's some other lady with a gold tooth. And Lewis is just like, you're not Miss Schatz. Where's Miss Schatz? Then it cuts to the Wombat Report again. Lewis has a little report to give, a little update on his, you know, segment and everything that happened. That's when he gets really pretty serious, I'd say.
Yeah.
And this is also when he makes the Baba Wawa reference.
Baba. Thanks, Baba.
Pushes Ren out of the frame. Thanks, Baba. You know, so he just says this thing where he's like...
Now, humor can hurt. That's what I learned last week. But love can heal. On the very next day, coming back to school to serve us nutritious and well-balanced meals, Miss Schatz ran into our very own custodian, Mr. Gordon. Now, let me just tell you, Miss Schatz was looking hot. Let's just go to the videotape.
Miss Schatz ran into the janitor, Mr. Gordon, who was going to be Lewis's next subject, but I guess not, because Miss Schatz and Mr. Gordon immediately eloped to Las Vegas and got married, or they're engaged, or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, it's crazy. And we get video footage of them saying hello in front of a very obvious Vegas green screen, which is great. And I love the way Mr. Gordon has no lines at all.
Well, then they have to pay him, right?
Yep. Yeah, and the last line, too, kind of cheesy, how Ren's like,
"Thank you, Lewis. Excellent report."
Thank you, Ren. Seriously.
Seriously? Oh, yeah, that was the other one. I was like, okay. Oh, that's clever.
It's like, yeah, that one always kind of made me cringe a little bit.
Shy kind of smirks, too, when he says it, like, they made me say this.
Yep. So that's basically the episode, and then it comes back for a little final minute bit, where Eileen is doing her Tai Chi to yodeling music, and she's like, oh, who would ever think that I'd find peace in this? She finally found her soothing music, and I always thought it was Lewis doing the actual yodeling, but I think it's just supposed to be him, like, lip-syncing to a yodeling track.
I also thought it was supposed to be one of those surreal things where he was like,
yeah,
I learned how to yodel. I don't know.
I did too. But it's like, obviously Shia is like really bad at doing that convincingly. Like he's just flailing around like a weirdo and just and you know,
so over the top.
It's obvious, like it's obviously not coming from him. So yeah, I don't know. Either way is fine. But yeah, and that's the end of the episode. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, 29 is pretty solid. I think I'd leave it around there just because, yeah, the latter half, it's entertaining, but it's just kind of not as good as Even Stevens could be. I don't think. But, I mean, the first half's just gold, I think. With, just Lewis is so good with the interview, his freakouts, and just all that. It's really good.
Same, and I think I'd leave it at 32 as well, since this time I was like, I'd probably put this at 31. Yeah. Checked my list, it's 32, so I'm like, I guess I'm still pretty spot on with that. So moving on to our segments, we still doing MVP? I don't know, you got one?
Yeah, I mean, I put Lewis, my non-Lewis MVP. Man, I put Twitty. I couldn't really, just because he had a couple.
Twitty was kind of terrible in this episode, though.
He had a couple, but he was like funny. He had a couple funny lines. I also thought about Ren. I mean, she was decent. I don't know.
But Twitty was one of the people like leading the taunting on the lunch lady. Like, that's true. Terrible.
He was the second person.
Yeah.
This is one of those episodes where, I mean, there's a lot of them, but this one really stands out as one of those episodes where if Lewis wasn't in it, I don't think it would have been. Oh yeah, well of course. I mean, that's pretty much every episode of the show. Well, yeah, but I mean, like at least some of them, like there's still like, you know, like especially in the later ones, you know, Donnie's really good, or like, you know, there's some good stuff with Twitty and Tawny or Ren or whoever. Yeah, I don't think that it would have been a good episode otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, for my MVP, I put Miss Schatz.
Oh, there you go. I guess I didn't really think of that.
She was a good sport this whole episode, you know.
That's
and then
true.
she came out on top and happy.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good one.
I don't know. Because, like, MVP to me, it's not like who was the most valuable person in the episode. It's just like the person that, like, was sort of a standout or deserves a bit of a shout out or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good criteria. Personally, I do like if this, obviously it's mostly going to be Lewis, but if this person contributed
this much to the thing,
to making the episode enjoyable, I guess, yeah.
So moving on to trivia.
Is it true?
Did you know that?
For your information, is it true that...
What does that mean?
First off, the lunch lady, Miss Schatz, was played by Wendy Worthington, who is in a million things, including she is Sally Shine's nanny in the Tower of Terror.
Tower of Terror, yeah, that's the one I remember the most.
Yeah, but we talked about that movie in our holiday special.
I love that movie, yeah.
Yeah, she was also... she's typecast. She played an evil lunch lady on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where she was trying to poison everyone.
Oh, wow. She was in Good Burger.
Oh, no way.
I didn't remember her in that.
Yeah,
I just
me
saw
either.
it on IMDb, though.
Yeah, so that's just sort of funny. According to TV.com, they said that this is one of the only times that they mentioned that Twitty is on the basketball team. Mm-hmm. The only other time I can think of is Luscious Lou.
A couple times he says, I got practice, but he doesn't say, like, what sport. He just says, I have practice.
Oh, does he say that he has basketball practice in the last episode?
I think he
Lewis
just says
in the middle?
practice, doesn't he?
I think he says basketball practice. Let me see. Nope, he says basketball practice.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, so there's that. And then Danica, the actress who plays Danica, I'm forgetting her name right now, but she is the real life sister of Mandy Always Gets Her Man Sanchez.
Sanchez, yeah.
She was also the friend of Ryan Merriman in The Luck of the Irish.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. This episode was written by Mark Warren, who's the executive producer on like most of the episodes, or maybe like half the episodes.
Yep.
He's also executive producer on That's So Raven and Full House. He wrote probably, I think, like 10 Even Stevens episodes, including, and plus the movie. I averaged my ranking of all the episodes that he wrote because some of them are like the last like 10 or 15 on my list, and like he has 2 in my top 10. Pretty much is an extreme either way. So he did like Ren We Trust.
Oh, no, he wrote that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Little Mr. Sacktown, Boy on a Rock, My Best Friend's Girlfriend, Influenza.
I like some of those, though.
And then he did Battle of the Bands and Starstruck, which are 2 of my favorite episodes.
How can you go from Battle of the Bands to In Ren We Trust? How does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just I didn't look at if In Ren We Trust had a co-writer, but the average ranking of his episodes was a 40, basically. And then it was directed by Peter Baldwin, who actually died 2 years ago, and he was almost 70 when he directed this episode, which I thought was weird. But he directed Head Games, Shutterbugged, Movie Madness, Secrets and Spies, and Short Story. Short Story was actually his final credit at all on IMDb.
Oh.
But this guy, he's won an Emmy. He won an Emmy directing in a Wonder Years episode. He directed 2 Salute Your Shorts episodes, which is one of my favorite shows, including the pilot, Full House, Brady Bunch, Mary Tyler Moore. He's just a pretty storied director all around. Yeah.
You got anything else?
Oh, also the monthly food pass for Lawrence Junior High is $45.
Wait, what?
I noticed it on the backside of in one of the scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. For a month?
Yeah, $45 a month. Pretty good.
Pretty good. I feel
like that's $1 a day.
I don't know, but that sounds expensive per month.
But like, think if you get a free meal.
Well, because I'm just thinking of like middle school kids, but then I'm remembering that like, yeah, their parents pay for it, so.
Oh yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
So
yeah, you're paying for it in advance, basically.
Yeah. So sort of piggybacking off of trivia, the pop culture in this episode, we have Godzilla, obviously is Godzilla reference. We have Geraldo Rivera, Nightline and Ted Koppel. The Baba Wawa, Gilda Radner SNL thing. We have Limp Bizkit, and we have the Ride of the Valkyries, or Valkyries. I don't know how you pronounce.
Yeah, Ride of the Valkyries. It's by Wagner. The iconic score.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
So we had all that stuff going on in here. That's pretty much that. So quickly, I have some tweets.
Yes.
Honestly, my favorite segment.
Oh,
well, aside from the Wombat News, this is probably my favorite segment.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Wombat News is good.
This first tweet is from Jordan Huffman, and I have no idea what this means. She said, quote, and this is like a quote, it's hashtag stuff Jess says. I don't know who Adina Menzel is, but I know the lunch lady from Even Stevens when I see her. Hashtag Foodzilla.
There you go.
I'm like, okay. We have another one from Andre Lagahit. He says, LOL, Foodzilla from Even Stevens is on this episode of Glee. LOL, and the fat guy from Hannah Montana.
Who, the fat guy? Which one? Is that like her agent or something?
I don't know, but it just made me laugh because I was like, who? Like, I'm just like, how is that?
You know, the one fat guy on Hannah Montana.
Then we have another one from Ebert. It's a quoted tweet. So this is from like 2014, before you could actually quote tweets and add something.
Oh, okay.
Whoever this person she's quoting, they said, this customer at my job today looked like the lunch lady from Even Stevens. And they put a picture And then this person said, LMAO, why? About it. But the link to the picture is broken. Like, the tweet has been deleted.
That sucks.
So I'm so sad that we can't see the photographic evidence of that. Next tweet is from Deanna. She says, first of all, again, real quick with this, we talked about this before, people pronouncing or spelling all of the characters on the show, their names wrong. We talked about, Tweety being a big one, people calling Tweety Tweety. Well, I have a new one for you here. For some reason, this person remembered that it was Lewis and Twitty who gave the lunch lady the makeover. Don't know why they remembered that. But they called Twitty, you ready for this? Twooty.
Twooty. Hashtag Team Twooty.
TWOODY. And then she said parentheses question mark? About how to spell his name.
Yeah, you definitely didn't spell it right. Second of all, I think she's conflating this episode with Easy Crier, maybe?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, or just people just remember the friend, and they're like, maybe, I guess it was him that did it.
That's true.
I don't know.
Because, Lewis and Ren didn't do a lot of stuff together. Yeah.
But so she said, Sally Shine's mean nanny is the gross lunch lady that Lewis and Tootie, question mark,
the gross lunch lady,
makeover in that one episode of Even Stevens. Anyone feel me?
I feel you.
And then the last thing is from Chelsea. She says, dude, the lunch lady who was trying to poison everyone on Buffy is the lunch lady who they gave a makeover to in Even Stevens. Hashtag typecast.
That's a weird one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's all the tweets.
She's in so much stuff.
She really is.
And she's American too. That's the accent.
I think I knew that. Yeah. I could tell that wasn't legit.
Yeah, it was very stereotypical. Accent.
Yeah. Disney loves their stereotypical accents. That show. I hate it. Jesse and Bunked, the poor Indian kid.
Oh yeah. He's American, right?
Yeah, he's American, and he does not have an Indian accent, but they make him put it on. They make him have an
Indian accent?
I'm like, that's the worst. Like, everyone, it's so terrible when they, perpetuate,
Ravi Ross, a pleasure. You must be Miss Gladys, the proprietor. Thank you for letting Mrs. Kipling come to camp. I assure you, the odds of her eating any campers are very remote.
Oh my god, that is so bad. Why would you do this, Disney?
It's weird.
I feel bad for the guy that has to perpetuate the stereotype of his people.
Can you do an Indian accent? All right, cool, you're it.
It's so bad. Oh man. Anyway, so moving on quickly, best quote.
Mine was the slow-mo karate, bet you could kick grandmas, but I just liked how he delivered it.
Yeah, honestly, I forgot about this segment because we took such a long break. I was totally forgetting what we actually used to do on this podcast. So last minute, I had to pick a quote out of nowhere. But I think the one I always really liked is, I'm going to do the flaky biscuit sits in the lawn chair.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then if not that, it was just going to be I'll do the comedy.
Yep, that's a good one too.
I just really liked that. Final segment, moving on, the Wombat News.
The Wombat News.
The Wombat News was born in this very episode of the show, is what gave birth to this segment in the podcast. So, news going on. Finally, after hearing about this movie for so long, Shia's childhood memoir, biopic, whatever you want to call it, Honey Boy, which he wrote the whole screenplay for and everything, finally premiered at Sundance Film Festival over the last weekend to massive critical and audience acclaim.
So happy.
So happy. Super amazing to see Shia, so many articles being written about him right now in such a positive light.
Yeah.
People saying that this is the movie that should really compel people to reevaluate him, understand him a little better, and give him a little bit more respect.
Let's give him an Oscar nod next year, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm seeing people throw around that word more than ever. I think it's funny, too, because everyone's saying that Noah Jupe, who plays young Even Stevens era Shia, everyone's saying that he deserves an Oscar. And I think it's funny that someone might win an Oscar for playing Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
And that Shia LaBeouf won't win an Oscar.
I would be so happy if he at least got nominated for an Oscar.
Shia?
Yeah, Shia. Yeah. I mean, either of them, technically. But, I mean, yeah, definitely Shia. There's so many movies that I think that he could have...
Oh, yeah. I mean, easily. I mean, almost every movie he's done has been a at least award-worthy performance.
Yeah, especially like his latter movies. Hopefully this movie gets wide release or it's limited release at least.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it comes. I have a local community theater here, and American Honey came to that theater. So I'm hoping that Honey Boy comes to that theater. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Also, it's currently 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes based on 25 critic reviews.
Sweet.
Yeah, they said there's no score yet for the audience, but it's 100% for the critics, and the consensus is Honey Boy serves as an act of cinematic therapy for its screenwriter and subject, one whose unique perspective should strike a chord in audiences from all backgrounds.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
I cannot wait to see it either. Really, really excited about that. And also quickly, Christy is, kind of in the news now. She's been doing promo for the live-action Kim Possible movie. She did a bunch of interviews the other day, and it was revealed, her cameo in the movie was revealed. She's playing a pop star named Poppy Blue, who gives Kim and Ron a lift to one of their missions.
Oh, so she's got like probably a lengthier cameo.
Yeah, which is pretty cool because that was something that happened all the time on the show. Like, since Kim's a teenager, like, she didn't have her license for a lot of the series. Yeah. So in order to get to her mission, she would always like get a lift from someone, and it'd be, thanks for the lift, whoever. Oh, it's the least I could do after you saved my cat from that tree, or like whatever it was. Like, like she was always helping out everybody.
That's cool.
So yeah, she knows this pop star by the name of Poppy Blue, who will be Christy. I actually, since our holiday episode, when we talked about the Kim Possible trailer and the Kim Possible franchise and everything, I got way more into Kim Possible. I watched most of the series, I want to say, on the Disney Now app and both of the movies, and I've been getting actually really, really excited for this movie.
I'm gonna have to do that.
I'm super into it, and
yeah, I've definitely toyed with the idea. I mean, I don't have as much time now with the baby, but I've toyed with the idea of watch. I mean, I've only seen a handful of episodes, but watching the series and just at least getting some sort of like references and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. I mean, everyone thinks the movie's going to be terrible, but I'm thinking it's going to be a fun, campy Disney Channel original movie ride, and I'm ready for it. I'm excited. Yeah. I think that's everything for today. This was a fun one for me, at least. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was breaking into a freaking laughing
this was a good
fit.
One. This is a good one.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just really happy to be back.
Me too.
Get back into the swing of things. I really enjoyed watching this episode last night because, been a little bit since I watched Even Stevens, and I was like, wow, yeah, I love this show.
It was a good episode.
Yeah, fun episode to start back on. So thank you guys so much for listening. As always, be sure to follow us on all the socials. They'll be in the description of this podcast episode. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the website, evenstevensrank.com, which I have to renew that domain name literally today. Yeah, so all that good stuff. Send us an email, whatever you want. We actually got a few emails and comments on YouTube over the break, which is pretty cool. We're going to have to find a good time to read those. But yeah, thanks so much for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
See ya.